The physical boundary violation, we would think about it as quite a straightforward thing. Don't ever punish anyone, child or adult, with physical punishment, corporal punishment. Don't ever abuse anyone physically. It's never okay to do that. Adults are a bit better equipped to put it somewhere in their psyche that they might be able to distance that it's not about me, it's about you. It still hurts. It might not physically be hurtful, but it might be physically hurtful. But it wasn't okay, but it's not my fault. Like it's still a very delicate ground to navigate when somebody is physically abusive. But as an adult, you're just more resourced to rationalize what's happening to you. As a child, no matter if it's a painful or non-painful slap or any kind of hitting, spanking, anything translates to the child as my body is not safe to be in. So we went from home is not safe to my room is not safe, or I don't even have a room, to my very house, my very body is not a safe space to be in. So I'm going to dissociate my sense of self from my physicality, and I'm going to neglect and abuse my physicality. I'm not going to feel my feelings. I'm not going to feel my sensations. I'm going to overeat or chronically undereat. I'm going to punish myself and neglect my physical responses, my injuries. I had this thing with my mother when she had a fear of doctors. She hardly ever went to the doctors. And when I was maybe 8, I had this kidney infection. And it came from one day to another with very high fever. And I had that high fever for about 3 days maybe before they took me to a hospital, because I started to get like physically dehydrated, and it was very obvious that I'm not okay, and I'm not going to be okay just with their home remedies and methods. And obviously there's a good instinct behind it that first she tried everything that she could, everything that was in her power. But the baseline of that is a fear response where she felt attacked in her own sense of self, in her own underdeveloped sense of self. And she didn't recognize that my physical condition needs help. It needs immediate assistance. I could have had any kind of organ shutdown by that point with the high temperature that I was having. And the methods that she tried to bring my temperature down was actually quite painful and just quite unbearable. So this lack of physical awareness of what is needed is a boundary violation. And then later on, that translates in me years down the line, where I had the strangest pain I've ever experienced in my life. I don't even know what actually caused it. I kind of understand it now, but I had this physical pain where from here to here, I was in excruciating pain when I couldn't move. And I tried to just do all sorts of mental stuff, and I tried to take painkillers for an entire day. I think I've spent something like 9 hours in excruciating pain when I couldn't breathe. Like when you recognize how many muscles you need for breathing because they hurt every single time you take a breath. It was unbearable. And it was only after 9 hours when I said that I'm not able to solve this. I need help. And I had to call a friend. They had to take me to a hospital. The other thing was that I started to throw up everything, like literally water, everything. I couldn't keep anything down. So they took me to a hospital. They gave me liquid morphine, threw it up immediately. And I had to get a shot of morphine. And that was the only thing that would actually bring the condition down. So, at that point, I'm like, zen as fuck in my mind, like, it's okay, it's just the body, we're gonna get through this. No, we're not. You're not able to assess the physical situation that you're in. I was so acutely at a state of I need help, I need assistance, and at the same time I was afraid. I had this mistrust with being able to ask for help and being able to get the appropriate help, or anybody caring about me, or anybody acknowledging or validating my needs. And this is a classic response for a violated boundary, when you start neglecting your own boundaries, or you just don't even recognize your own needs anymore, physical needs as well. A more subtle form of physical boundary violation would be when you're forced to wear something as a child that you feel uncomfortable in. And I'm all up for giving as much freedom within a healthy structure to a child as possible. Sometimes they're just moody and they just don't want to wear it. But sometimes you put stuff on kids that they feel like actively quite uncomfortable for the whole day. Itchy stuff that smells, stuff that just doesn't feel good. It's not because they want to play fashion. It's because there is a physical sense of, I'm not comfortable in this, or there's a deeply ingrained sense of shame, that they feel ashamed of the way they look, maybe the quality of the clothes, or maybe the social status that those clothes are representing. And if you're forcing your child to just go ahead, just tough it out, just go ahead with it, I'm your mother, I'm the adult, I know better, kids experience a physical boundary violation. Another version of it would be when you're making them physically uncomfortable with senses, or like a sense of smell or a sense of touch or anything like that. I had it twice in my life ever, when there's a person whose skin smell, body smell, I just cannot tolerate. I couldn't be around them. I had a physical, visceral reaction of, oh, I feel sick around you. And it's not something they ate. It's not a body odor that they have. It's the smell of their skin. There is something in their chemical makeup, which probably has to do with their diet, but still, that I just couldn't be around and just couldn't handle. And kids sometimes have that. Kids don't like being around people who are smokers or smell weird or, look funny or whatever. And you force them to be physically close to those people or spend time with those people without any safe space to go to. That is a sense of physical violation. So it doesn't necessarily just have to be this outright abuse and attack. Sometimes it's just taking away their physical sense of safety and a sense of agency over their own bodies when you make the choices for them. And obviously there are adult versions of that boundary violation, but I'm not going to go into that because hopefully we're quite literate with those physical boundary violations in adult relationships by now. If not, go back to page 1.